In the world around us, everything is made up of body and soul, of matter and form, vessel and light. One aspect is more spiritual and more infinite, the soul, the form, the light. And one is much more finite and limited, defined, like body, matter, and vessel. But in every aspect of creation, there is both body and soul, matter and form, and vessel and light. The question is only the combination. And what is the distinction between them? Welcome, Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zuch and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We continue in the fifth letter to understand creation and the power of God in creation. And in that, there's a distinction between the form of God's speech versus the matter of speech. Form, as we explained, is the articulation of letters, right? You need your mouth, you need your lips to shape in a certain way to make a letter pay. You need your teeth to be in a certain form in order to make a shin, and so on and so forth. That is the articulation of 22 letters, 5 aspects of the organs of the body, the mouth, that you need. You need your lips, you need your teeth, you need your tongue, you need your palate, you need your larynx to articulate or to have the form of different letters to make up different words. But without breath, which is the other component of speech, which is the matter of speech, because when you articulate and make form, there is no matter. And as I will now separate the two, because I will now say something that will only have form, but no breath, no matter. Did you get what I just said? You didn't hear it. It didn't become physically capable of, verbalization because it was only form without matter. There was no breath involved. Breath means to bring it out, articulate, to verbalize it in a way that can be heard by another. So in the metaphor here in creation, there's the internal aspect of God's speech. It creates the internal worlds, the higher spiritual worlds. And the articulation emanates from the letter Yud in God's name, as we explained. And the Tetragrammaton, Yud in God's name, as we went to great length to explain, the form. And then in God's name, the letter Hey brings about the breath of God, which is external. It's external. Right. What does it mean that it's external? It means it's not enough. It's not enough to contain and endure the life and life force of the form of letters. It's too powerful. Not only that, right, and which is right? The form of letters is what creates souls and angels. And hence souls and angels have a much greater awareness of the divine because they're able to endure the form of God's speech in creating them. And that enduring allows them to be much more aware of the divine, connected to the divine. And as our souls in Gan Eden have the pleasure of the divine. Instead, what we have from the external aspect of speech, the breath, it means that it flows into this world. It's the matter of speech. Speech matters. Speech is matter. It's the body of speech. External, it's the breath. A physical breath. And what does that physical breath then breathe into creation? Just as the breath is physical, right, in our speech, so too it creates the physical of this world. Again, as opposed to the form that creates the spiritual, souls, angels, and so on. Now, let us not make a mistake that in the breath right now, when I speak, what's vested in there? In my breath? The form. Because without it, there would be no speech. Right? You can't just have breath in speech. Everything would be the same. Only because of form there's a distinction, right? But that distinction would not become materialized in a physical existence without that breath. But what's vested in the breath? The form. Oh, for that matter, what's vested in the form? What's vested in the form? Well, your thought, because your thought is what gave rise to your speech, right? What's vested in your thought? Why do you think what you think? Your emotions, right? And why do you have an emotion as you do? Because of your will and of your intelligence. All of that is vested in the breath that you give in your speech. When it becomes verbalized, that someone else can hear your speech. Well, that's a metaphor for us to understand in the creative process. When God is creating a physical world that we all know and love, this one, I hope we love it. If you get to know it, then you will, because then you'll know it's God's garden based on what we're teaching instead of God's jungle. It's God's garden because although it's only the external aspect of speech, but first of all, it's God's speech, right? It is the breath of God that creating the physicality of this world. But vested in it is the form of speech, the spiritual, in other words. Vested in that is even more. Is the holy attributes of God and his divine will and wisdom is vested in it. Now, when we say vested over here, vested means it's there, but concealed. What are we experiencing? Or I don't know if experiencing is the right word, but what are we, what can we, what is I don't know, recognize is the right word because then that's experience, it would be experienced too in a certain way. What is it that, what is the form of vitality that we are connected to is the breath. And the other components of speech, the form, and beyond that, divine will, wisdom, and the divine attributes of God are all hidden within that creation of a piece of paper, that creation of me, the physicality of me, not my soul, but the physicality of me. It's all there, found within it. But what we are directly connected to is the external aspect of speech, the breath, the matter of speech. That's what we're directly connected to, right? And because of that, folks, that's why we feel separate from God. Because in my breath, with me, folks, or are you somewhere else? Because in my breath, as opposed to my form of speech, in my form of speech, where does it remain? On my lips, right? It doesn't go anywhere else. The form of speech doesn't leave me. But what does leave me? The breath. So angels, souls, don't feel separate from God. I mean, I should say they do feel a certain separateness, but they sense the divine. They feel that they are connected to the divine. They're not separate, even though they are still, spiritual creations, but they are sensing their source. The breath leaves the mouth, leaves the person. The breath of God leaves God, figuratively speaking, from our perspective, not from his perspective, but from our perspective. And hence, we feel separate from him. We feel autonomous. In fact, we're not, but that's what we feel. Very powerful. This is what Isaac Luria, the Kabbalist, said. The external aspects of speech in Kabbalistic terminology is the vessels, as opposed to the light, of the sphere of Malchus. Malchus, right, is the royalty, last of the 10 divine attributes, which is the king rules with his word. So it's the vessel element, not the light element, of the world of Atzilus, right? Alluded to by the lower hey, the last hey in God's name, of the four-letter name of God. Right? This. And just as it says in the Zohar, Yud is the dominant force of the spiritual world of Atzilus. When we're going more specific to the world, Hey is the dominant force of the divine world of Bria, or the created world of Bria. Then Vav is the life force and energy of the world of Yetzirah. And Hey, the final Hey, is the life force of the world of Asiya. But all that is the form. And then this world is the breath of the final Hey that brings about this physical world. Why is the Yud? Why is the Yud Atzilus? Because Yud is bittul. Atzilus is complete self-nullification. Hey is understanding. Understanding that that's already the first part of the first element of creation. Bria. There's souls that understand godliness, but they're still they understand their source. They feel connected to the source. They yearn for the source of the divine, but yet there's a comprehension which suggests that there's someone comprehending. Vav is the world of Yetzirah, the world of divine emotions. And then a Hey is, of course, speech. Yes. So all that is just to show the come down, the devolution of creation, coming from a much more connective source to coming down and more less of a light, more of the vessel, less of form as we go down, and more of breath. This world is just breath. Vested in it, of course, is form, and as we said, vested in it is the divine emotions and the divine will and wisdom of God. So this is our world. Tomorrow we're going to understand, how do we make this name of God, this world that we create, we can make God's name. How do we do that when God is the one who makes the world? But we have the power in us that we can make God's name. And how do we do that? We'll see you tomorrow. It'll be the start of the David has a question. What is the difference between form of speech that caused those to expire at Sinai when they heard Hashem speak? I don't know what you mean. Why are you saying it's form of speech? I don't know. I'm not certain. Lori, did you say speech is a vessel for breath? No, I didn't say. I said that breath is similar to vessel, as opposed to light is similar to form, right? And body and soul. They're similar ideas, bringing out, so on one side you have soul, light, and form. And the other side you have body, vessel, and breath of speech. Okay. Okay, amazing. All right, folks, reminder, TRC today, 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Okay. Rambam. Now, I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zurich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing, great day. Thank you.